With Starmer pledging to resign as Labour leader if he's fined by Durham police, Westminster journalists are looking for a potential replacement. And the name which is coming up more than any other is that of, and I hate to say this, Wes Streeting. The FT has published this fawning profile of Labour's Shadow Health Secretary. The title asks, is Wes Streeting the saviour Labour desperately needs? And this is how it starts. So they write, when he boarded a plane to Israel on May the 9th, Wes Streeting was merely an ambitious rising star in Britain's Labour Party. By the time he touched down at Ben Gurion Airport, the 39-year-old was a potential party leader, possible future Prime Minister, and inevitably a new Tony Blair. I picked a good week to be away, Streeting tells me later that day as he munches a lamb pitta in Tel Aviv's Carmel market. You'll guess, Streeting is joking he chose a good week to tour Israel because it meant he missed the furore around Starmer announcing he might resign. What goes unmentioned in that introduction is a more significant fact that Streeting's tour coincided with Israeli security forces killing one of Palestine's most influential journalists, Shireen Abu Akleh. Israeli police would go on to attack her funeral. So he's saying, oh, what a great time to go to Israel. It means that I missed that awkward moment where Keir Starmer said he'd resign if he gets fined by police for a city lockdown breach. Less serious is the fact that he went to Israel with Labour Friends of Israel, by the way, in the same week that they essentially murdered Palestine's most famous journalist, right? One of those things is more important than the other. On the case for Streeting leading Labour, the piece says, Streeting attracts admiration from those who see him as the moderate future of Labour, an effortless communicator like Blair in the 1990s, who understands what it takes to win back the working class voters who have deserted the party. He doesn't need a focus group to tell him what the public thinks because he feels it himself, says Peter Mandelson, a co-architect of Blair's New Labour. Perhaps an example of Streeting's instinctive understanding of the British working class can be seen in his defence of McDonald's having an exhibition stall at the 2016 Labour Party conference. When the company's application was rejected, Streeting told The Sun on Sunday, the band smacks of a snobby attitude towards fast food restaurants and people who work or eat at them. McDonald's may not be the trendy falafel bar that some people in politics like to hang out at, but it's enjoyed by families across the country. Well said, Wes. Screw these people munching at falafel bars. The problem, though, with what Wes said, whether or not there are falafel bars, is that it turned out the ban had nothing to do with anyone's fondness for chickpeas, and we do know that Jeremy Corbyn was fond of chickpeas. It was instead a decision made in protest that McDonald's used 0-hour contracts and refused to meet with their staff's trade union. Wes Streeting's instinctive understanding of the working class can also be perceived in his early support for a people's vote. It was a campaign that would ultimately lose Labour the next general election, though that was presumably less a bug than a feature for the MP for Ilford North. Let's go to one more recent example of journalists fawning over Streeting. This was a piece in The New Statesman by Andrew Marr. He analysed the runners and riders to replace Starmer and said this. So would it be Wes Streeting, the Blairite, uncannily fluent and able gay working class health spokesperson? He has been fiercely loyal to Starmer. Brought up in a Stepney council flat, he would be the likeliest replacement if it was down to sheer ability. But he is too centre-right for many colleagues, and others ask whether Labour could, after so long, avoid having a female leader next. If it was down to sheer ability, it would be Wes Streeting. Aaron Bastani, I don't get it. What's behind the love-in with Wes Streeting?
Ability to do what? Ability to do what?
They've looked at him, they've said, this is sheer ability.
Yeah, his ability to go to TV studios? Oh, wow. They think that's what politics is. Sheer ability. Okay, when interest rates hit 2.5%, inflation hits 10, 11%. Sheer ability to do what, Andrew Marr? Somebody's like, their mortgage has doubled. The food bill's, 20% higher than it was this time last year. But don't worry, guys. We've got Wes Streeting on it. He's really fluent in TV studios when he's talking to Andrew Marr. No longer on the BBC because he was a terrible host. Ability to do what? Ability to do what? This is the media talking to itself about the media. This is about the media, talking about the pundits, talking about the politicians who talk about the pundits' talking points. And this is utterly detached from reality. Wes Streeting's only job before politics, Michael, was basically being the president of the NUS. And you want to talk about, student politics? They're not serious. People like Marr, Philip Collins wrote something similar today. Philip Collins, he wrote Keir Starmer's conference speech last year. He's now talking about Wes Streeting replacing him. So what these people find attractive about Streeting, I mean, I don't know. I think they live on another planet. I find it extraordinary, Michael. I find it extraordinary. As somebody who used to do a lot of sort of stuff on the TV, I don't anymore because they don't ask me to come on. Because you go on to do Sky News, the paper review, or you go on to do some show, they expect you to say something. And if you don't say something, they go, oh my God, well, Labour have done this. They're in real trouble, aren't they? Well, I don't think so. Well, let's see. What? You're not sort of just saying the cliched platitude, which everybody expects you to come out with in a choreographed manner. And I suppose if you think that's what politics is, right? Everything's pre-established and cliches and platitudes and all the pundits have to like you. And yeah, I get it. We're streeting. Climate change, inequality, housing crisis, still post-Brexit, Britain doesn't really know what it's doing with its trade relations. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Where's the mass movement behind Wes Streeting? Where's the institutional knowledge behind Wes Streeting? Where's he drawing policy from? Oh, I don't know any of that, but he came on my TV show one Sunday and he was okay. So he should be the next prime minister. If you want to listen to anybody in British politics, be my guest, but put people like Andrew Marr back of the queue.
I can't name a single policy that Wes Streeting stands for. I don't think he's, I think in that Financial Times piece, the only concrete thing that was said about Wes Streeting is that he's controversial on the left because he wants the NHS to pay for private healthcare for operations if waiting lists are too long. To be honest, that's just the present. So Wes Streeting's only idea is to keep something that we already have, which I suppose is, that's sort of the conservatism of these post-New Labour people, which is to say, look, nothing's really wrong with society. Let's just manage it a little bit better. The one thing you said to me recently about this, Aaron, which has really stuck with me, you said it really shows you the dearth of talent on the Labour benches, that Wes Streeting gives one interview where he doesn't stutter and everyone thinks he's the next Obama. The reason people do think he's something special is because everyone else is so bad, right? You're absolutely right that being able to give an interview where you don't sound like a complete robot shouldn't actually qualify you to be prime minister, but it does make him stand out against the other people he's on those front benches with.
Nobody thinks that Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer are, in any sense, the right people to be the Chancellor and the Prime Minister. No normal person, if they look at them and hear them for the first time ever and hear them talk, and they've never heard about who they are or they don't know anything about their policies, if they just hear them, I defy you, Michael, no single person will say that Starmer and Rachel Reeves should be the Prime Minister and the Chancellor. They sound like a duo from a Strepsil advert, okay? They don't sound serious. Like you said, they can't finish sentences. Rachel Reeves has this thing where when somebody pushes back on her in the media, she goes, actually, and it's like, you look so weird. You look so weird. Both of you look so weird. And look, you can look weird and be really good on policy, a policy heavyweight. And there's space for those people in politics. Of course there is. There has to be. It would be hugely unfair if there wasn't. But if you're talking about your top two people, and that's why I don't like Blair. I don't agree with his political agenda. And I think he actually created long-term devastation for this country. But there's no denying he was a very effective messenger for his politics. No denying that. And I don't see how Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves are effective communicators for their politics. I don't get it. And like you say, okay, so in that context, then you can understand the appeal of Wes Streeting a little bit, sure. But Michael, Prime Minister's a big job, There's a great line from Patrick Maguire in a recent article he wrote for the New Statesman. And I think it applies to Wes Streeting. Looks like the manager of a regional supermarket, a provincial supermarket. He sort of doesn't really know what's going on. He's sort of bossing people around. But I think, and I was reading that line, which he was actually applying to a Conservative politician, and I thought, you know what? For the pundits, that's exactly what a politician looks like. Prosperous, white guy, short hair, suit, pink-cheeked, sort of a bit bossy, knows what they want. And that to them is like, that's a politician. It's basically a provincial supermarket manager, right? And I was trying to push back with the Keir Starmer stuff. I was like, well, look at Rebecca Long-Bailey. I mean, to me, she's 40, ex-lawyer. She's really on top of her policy brief, particularly on climate change. She monstered Rishi Sunak in the 2019 election. I mean, I think in the private sector, she would probably be more employable than Wes Streeting, who all he seems capable of is kind of just bullshitting. That's my take. And people go, no, it's because she's a woman. Just say it. It's because she's a woman. That's the thing. It's because she's a woman. You don't think she's got what it takes. And that's, again, what's going to happen with wage treating. The Tories will have, they had a woman prime minister before Labour. They have a black or brown prime minister before Labour too. Because Labour, the Labour right in particular, view themselves as being too quote unquote left wing, or their party is too left wing. So they have to overcompensate, which means that they're the last people to A, advance left wing politics or values, or B, to promote women or people of colour to senior roles. Very sad, but there we are. And one more thing as well, Michael. You know, Peter Mandelson says he doesn't need a focus group. He knows what working people think. What does Peter Mandelson know? Peter Mandelson lives in a £10 million property. I would submit that somebody who's lived in multi-million-pound London mansions for 20 years is a little bit out of touch with the working woman and man in this country. Just an opinion.
All of us here at Novara Media are working harder than ever to keep scrutinising establishment politicians and the media barons who protect them. We don't have billionaire funders. We don't have advertising partnerships. We're funded entirely by you. If you've ever thought about supporting us, now's the time to go to novaramedia.com/support and donate anything you can from just £1 per month. Defy the corporate media. Join our monthly supporters and help build our supporter base to 10,000 strong.